Hey friends, Worm here, and today we're going to talk about Iron Banner, and not so much the experience, because I think we all know what the experience is like, but the fact that Iron Banner does not feel really worth doing outside of getting pinnacle weapons. And I'm actually making this video because I watched Frostbolt's video last night on Iron Banner, and never mind the fact that he did a live recording and it was absolutely terrible because he couldn't stay focused for 2 seconds. But he made some good points and he didn't really elaborate on those points. And so today in this video, we're going to talk about some of the issues, some of the differences and issues between D1 Iron Banner and D2 Iron Banner, and potentially how Bungie can fix these issues, which, spoiler alert, it's very, very simple. But yeah, let's talk about it. So Iron Banner, why does it feel in Destiny 2 almost like a chore? Okay, and I say it like a chore because I think that's a good description of it. Like, you get in there, you play it for your couple matches of the day, and that's it. And don't get me wrong, Iron Banner is great because it gives you 4 pinnacles throughout the week, which is fantastic. I like that a lot, Bungie. That's good. That's really good. But the overall, like, the loot, the gameplay, everything like that is just not where it's at. Now I've chosen to put this background footage up specifically, not just because I have not played on my Void Hunter at all this season, but just so that you can see kind of some of the difficulty that I run into here. I've been playing a little bit today on my Hunter, and granted, I have not been playing Hunter. I don't think I've played Hunter in the Crucible at all this season so far. So I'm a little bit rusty on it, as well as the particular game that I'm playing. Eruption is not. Come here. Sorry, my cat's making noise. Is not really the best game mode to be doing like an invis kind of build around, but hey, I don't care. I did good with it in the past, might as well do good with it now. I got 18 or 19 or 20,000 kills on Rat King, can't remember. However, yeah, I put this gameplay back here so that you could see kind of what the matchmaking is like, and I want to start with Iron Banner matchmaking, because Iron Banner matchmaking feels really imbalanced in the sense that it's putting players against, I don't want to say against people. I don't want to say it's like putting people in who are on polar opposites of the skill gap up against each other, but it's putting players who are substantially less skilled as other players in the same lobby as really good players. And that's an issue. It feels like Iron Banner personally has a different skill-based matchmaking pool than standard standard Crucible. And this is an issue because Iron Banner is really not that much different from the regular Crucible outside of some rewards and the hunts. Like, it's still 6v6. It's still yeah, they've added some new game modes like Eruption, Fortress, stuff like that, but it's still kind of core Crucible. Like, there's no light level enabled, so it's not like players in trials where, okay, I've got to be as high light as possible. Like, I think in this footage I'm like 16 something because I haven't infused any armor into my my Hunter's armor. But it feels like the balancing, the matchmaking is not the same as regular Crucible. Sorry, I'm really bright here. I'm gonna turn this down. It doesn't feel the same as regular Crucible. It feels like it's almost like putting players in, I guess you'd say, like the wrong skill bracket. And not like 5 levels above or 5 levels under, but like 2 or 3 levels under sounds reasonable. Like I'm not the best Crucible player. Like, I'll be the first to admit it. I love the Crucible. I enjoy playing it a lot, but it's not at all, I'm not the best, and I'm matching against players who are very, very good. Either they're very good or their loadouts are just insane, which lots of Immortals, spoiler alert if you haven't played Iron Banners this week. But I don't think it's quite that. I think it's more so like there's a skill difference, and perhaps I'm the only one, I'm sure I'm not, but maybe everybody else in the majority of no, it feels great. Of course, I want to know your experience. Like, do you feel like the matchmaking is a little bit wonky? But let me know in the comments. But let's continue here. Matchmaking definitely feels a little bit off, and I think Bungie just needs to regulate matchmaking to the same level that it is in standard Crucible. Your 6v6 playlist, of course, not something like Trials. Hush. Sorry, my cat again. But yeah, that's the matchmaking. That's the simple fix for it. I don't see why it feels different, because like a part of me wants to believe that, oh, Bungie, surely they wouldn't make a whole different matchmaking, you know, pool or matchmaking system for Iron Banner than regular 6v6 Crucible. I could be wrong, but the matchmaking isn't even the biggest issue in my opinion. In my opinion, the biggest issue with Iron Banner is the fact that the rewards, and I'm sorry if I offend you, but they kind of suck. Okay, the weapons that you get, the armor that you get, I mean, the armor this season looks good, but all other seasons, the armor kind of looks ugly. No, not kind of, it really looks ugly. The last armor set that we had from Iron Banner looked absolutely terrible. Sorry, Bungie, sorry to the developer that worked on it, but it looked absolutely terrible. But the weapons, you know, we have things like Jorum's Claw here. Jorum's Claw, 390 pulse rifle. It doesn't have any outstanding rolls or outstanding stats. And I'm not asking Bungie to, you know, make Iron Banner weapons like the godliest weapons in the game. Like I'm not at all saying that, but I feel like Iron Banner should be a comfortable step above regular, you know, like standard world drop weapons, and a step below the Trials weapons. Obviously, Trials weapons I feel like should be much more focused on PvP perks, you know, and not so much on PvE perks. Iron Banner should be a fair mix of the two, but the weapons of Iron Banner should have decent stats, and that's you know, that's kind of how I feel about that. And Jorum's Claw, just as an example, is not really a great stat machine. In fact, if you look at all of the Iron Banner weapons, none of them really stand out in terms of stats that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure there's probably been one or two that are you know, really good, don't get me wrong, but it feels like for the most part, most of the Iron Banner weapons have just mediocre stat packages. And I think that that's an incorrect way of Bungie doing it. I mean, if we think back to Destiny 1, we had some absolute monsters. Okay, we had I can't remember the name of the pulse rifle, Clever Dragon. Clever Dragon was a pulse rifle. It was insanely good. Everybody loved using it. Like, you saw it literally everywhere because it had great stats. It could get great rolls. It was a phenomenal weapon. And I don't think that necessarily like that's what we should do with Iron Banner, like give it the top tier, like most god tier weapons, like I said earlier, but I think that it needs better weapons and mainly better stats. I think, you know, Trials should focus on the best stats for PvP and some of the best perk combinations for PvP. Iron Banner should be just kind of a step under, a step below Trials. That's kind of my thoughts on it. You know, I think in terms of PvE roles as well, like the PvE roles should be not like, they should be decent, maybe not as good as like, you know, raid PvE roles, but you know, something like Hero's Burden. Hero's Burden has a really decent PvE role. It has Feeding Frenzy and Volatile Rounds, which is great. Okay, that's like, you know, I'm glad that Bungie did that. They went out of their way to do that. But like, think about the last Iron Banner weapon. You're just like, oh my god, I cannot wait to use it. And no, I'm not talking to you, you tiny little minority that are addicted to something like Occluded Finality. Like, think about it. Like, when was the last time you thought, you know what, the Iron Banner, whatever it is absolutely cracked. You know, the Frontier's Cry is absolutely cracked. You know, the oh, what's another one? Occluded Finality is absolutely cracked. You know, name another weapon. The Wizened Rebuke, absolutely cracked. Gnora's Axe, absolutely cracked. Like, Gnora's Axe is outshined by other slug shotties, and it's not only outshined by them, but it's, you know, on the slug shotties that aren't Gnora's Axe, that aren't as don't outshine them, it kind of matches, in my opinion, you know, the Gnora's Axe. You know, you take something like what was it, Jorum's Claw, the new pulse rifle this season. There's just better options for everything. I think its best PvE role is like maybe like, I think Outlaw and Incandescent, which, I mean, you can get way better incandescent weapons in the game. You know, you can get like something like Trusty with Incandescent, which, yes, I know you have to do a raid to get, blah blah blah, but you can get other, in my opinion, better weapons, sorry, than the Jorum's Claw. And I think it was Cool Guy did a review on it, and he basically, he didn't trash the weapon the whole time, but he talked about it's nothing special and you're not going to miss out if you don't get it. I haven't even attempted to get it. Like, I have one roll and it has incandescent moving targets, which I'm not going to use. I'm probably going to use it for infusion, honestly. But the loot compared to Destiny 1 is just so lackluster, man. It sucks to see how Iron Banner has fallen from grace. I mean, yes, every now and then we get a great weapon. Like, think of what was it? Reese Walker. Reese Walker was a wonderful, wonderful weapon. It was, I would say, probably the best Iron Banner weapon. And then of course they changed shotguns, and now it's nowhere near as good as it once was, just because of its spread pattern. Anyways, neither here nor there. Yeah, that's kind of why that's another place where Iron Banner's fallen from grace. And also I remember back in Destiny 1, Iron Banner was, it had a difference, like there was a different, I guess, vibe to it. And I know D1, D2, totally different games. D1 was a lot smaller player base, and Bungie focused much more heavily on quality of gameplay instead of, reintroducing content and adding stuff to the Eververse store. Sad fall from grace right there. But it felt just, getting an Iron Banner, getting a weapon to drop, hunting that clever dragon, that the sniper. I remember the sniper was very, very good. What was another weapon from Iron Banner that I can think of? There was a hand cannon. The hand cannon was great, and now Iron Banner weapons, they just are kind of mid all around. And I think that's another issue that we need to see. What would I have Bungie do? Again, very, very simple. Just give us weapons that are better than your average thing. I would say, since Iron Banner's only coming 3 times a season, give us like god tier weapons. I mean, really, like, maybe not in, like, or I shouldn't say absolute god tier, but give us like, roles that are great, above average in both PvE and PvP. That way, your trials weapons can stay as the PvP pinnacle, like best, in terms of stat packages, perks, stuff like that. And your raid weapons can stay as like, the best PvE, again, stat packages, perks, whatever for PvE. But Iron Banner needs to have a better, just better loot. Not a better loot system. I think the loot system actually, as of this recent update with Lightfall, is pretty decent. It's pretty good, but the loot, it just, the weapons, they suck. The armor, it gets boring with the same set of armor for a year. Like, Bungie, please just update armor, let it drop a different set of armor every season. Get a team out to make new sets of armor. Like, that was one thing, if I'm not mistaken, back in D1, like, maybe I'm wrong, but I think the Iron Banner armor would like rotate, every DLC. It would like change every DLC, which is basically a DLC back then was a season. They came every like 3 or 4 months. If I'm not mistaken, every 3 or 4 months, but yeah, they came every 3 or 4 months, and they really did like add, great armor sets to the game. Some very cool ones. Every now and then, you'd have one season that, this armor set ain't that good, but the next season, hey, the armor set's good. Here, I mean, shoot, we were stuck with the Iron Forerunner for what, was it like 2 years or something like that? Like something insane, and it just, it didn't make sense to me. Of course, the armor that they brought this season looks pretty good, but it's also a D1 set, so, neither here nor there. Other qualities of life they could do to improve Iron Banner, I think really just playing around with game modes, kind of like they've been doing. Making team-oriented game modes, I think, would also be very beneficial. Like the Iron Banner is like, work together as a team, because you're basically practicing to kill the darkness. That's the lore or whatever behind Iron Banner. Make it so that, it's more team oriented, and I would say just bring in some fun game modes, high value target, where, somebody's randomly selected to be a high value target on a big map, and they have to get across the map to the other side, kind of like rifts. But if they die, it switches the other team. The other team, whoever kills them, gets high value target, or some random game mode like that. Definitely, of course, would be nice to see. We did see the introduction of Eruption as well as Fortress over the past two seasons, I think. And Eruption's pretty good. Fortress is here or there. But yeah, other things, I think that, the last thing, really, please just remove the having to play as a specific subclass for your pinnacles. Like, I think that that's kind of lame and awkward. Here, you play Void to get your, or Stasis. I don't know what it is this season. I can't even remember. Probably Strand and Solar, but, play this subclass or this subclass so that you can get your pinnacles. And it's, I don't know, like that. I don't like that. That's a personal thing to me. If you're predisposed a different way, that's fine. But yeah, that's Iron Banner in a nutshell. That's the issues, in my opinion, that plague it, and how I would personally fix it, like how I'd try to make it better. Matchmaking needs to be fixed, so you're not getting put with players that are, you know, miles above your, or not miles, but even just a few tiers higher than you. You know, because it feels like, here's like, every now and then I get, you know, I'll get in a game and get absolutely dumped on. That's fine. You know, that happens to literally everybody. But when it happens like almost every game of Iron Banner, it's like, okay, come on, man. Like, what gives? Like, why am I, you know, not playing people, or why am I playing people who are clearly outside my skill? Or on the flip side, I had a personal good game, but all of my teammates did terrible. Like, why are we playing in games where, you know, my teammates are, you know, arguably on the lower end of the skill bracket? And before somebody says it, yes, it's possible, you know, I know everybody has bad games, but I think the likelihood of my entire team having a bad game for like 4 or 5 games in a row is, you know, a little bit weird. But yeah, main thing though, fix the loot, make the loot better. You know, if you want to bring back reprise weapons, I disagree with it to an extent, but if you're going to bring it back, at least bring them back with some better stats, you know, and some better perks and better perk combinations. But yeah, that's my spiel on Iron Banner. We talked for like 15 minutes or whatever. That's it for me. Of course, I want to hear you guys' thoughts on Iron Banner. Have you been having the same terrible luck with teammates and enemies that I have? Because oh my god, I feel like every game is like, we're losing by like 75 points, you know, or something crazy like that. Yeah, let me know what your experience in Iron Banner. Also, what do you think about the proposed changes? Again, you know, better loots, better stat packets, specifically better stat packages on weapons, as well as better perks and perk options on weapons. Hey, and you know what? One more thing. I would love to see more unique perks on certain weapons. Like, for example, Rapid Hit would have been great on Jorm's Claw. It really would have. I don't know why Bungie, you know, puts exceptional perks on certain weapons that don't, or I know, okay, hang on, correction, I know why Bungie puts them on certain weapons, but I don't know why they don't put them on, you know, Iron Banner weapons. You can only get them 3 times a season, and then after 2 or 3 seasons they're gone. You can't get them anymore. Why not give some, you know, like Rapid Hits kill clip, for example, on Jorm's Claw? I think that would be fantastic. Anyways, yeah, that was kind of my last little bit there. But yeah, let me know what you think, of course, about the changes that I propose here. Do you think that Bungie should fix the matchmaking? Do you have issues with the matchmaking? Have you been enjoying Iron Banner? Of course, I want to hear if people enjoy it too, because, you know, I'm one man. This is my one man's opinion. Like, I want to hear everybody else's opinion and whatnot. But yeah, subscribe to the channel for more random Destiny topics and conversations, stuff like that. And of course, if you like the video, it helps out a lot. Share it with your friends, blah, 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 blah. I'm out of here, y'all. Peace.